Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, and I'm excited to be bringing you my guest today. We've been chatting behind the scenes, and she's a beautiful woman, and I'm excited for what she does and what she gets to share with you. So if you're new to our podcast, welcome. Glad to have you here for the Business Growth Spotlight. And make sure you stay to the end because we're going to give you a special gift. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome and introduce Peg Kinda with Reliable Billing. Welcome, Peg.
Thank you so much for having me, Heidi. This is super exciting and can't wait to get started.
Me too. I'm excited to chat with you. I
Yeah.
love your energy, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So Peg, can you kick us off by sharing a little bit about yourself, your company, and the role that you play within it?
Absolutely. So I started Reliable Billing in 2018. So we'll be at 7 years just about in a few months.
Mhm.
And it's a medical billing company. We offer not just billing services, but also we do contracting, credentialing, licensing, and consulting. My background is actually in marketing and finance. So I did not go to school for billing. I stumbled upon medical billing right after graduating and looking for a job. And the first job that happens to hire me decided that I would be a good fit for the billing department and trained me in billing. And that is how I ended up in the medical billing world. It's been about 10 years since then. So, I started out, I consulted for a little bit here and there and officially opened up in 2018. So that's a little bit about me and yeah, my background.
Amazing. So what inspired you to start to launch Reliable Billing?
I realized there was a gap out there. You have so many providers whose hearts are in the right places, who are really trying to do the best they can to assist, anyone that may need help out there. However, they tend to struggle often when it comes to being able to collect or even get paid for the work that they do. So in starting out, so I got hired at a treatment center right after college. And within that treatment center, even there were providers that were, running smaller practices and then working for the group as well when able. But that we're struggling to just be able to obtain contracts, get the right contracts, as well as bill successfully and get their claims paid. So I would often have them come up to me and ask me different questions about billing, ask me what I thought about, different scenarios that they were, facing and different challenges and asking me for advice. And then it escalated from there to them asking me to if I could come by the office temporarily and just kind of take a look at what they were entering in their system, take a look at their billing platform and their coding and let them know if, I had any suggestions as far as, how they could improve things or what they could do differently. So early on, I realized that there are so many providers out there that do want to help, but are not able to afford a full-time person or may not even need a full-time person. And you'd also have others that are able to afford full-time individuals and that do need a few individuals to work in the billing department. However, they just do not know enough to be able to efficiently supervise a billing team. You kind of have to rely on what your billers are telling you. And if you yourself do not quite understand the language of what they are relating to you, you are not able to quite understand or fully be able to judge how well the work is going. They could
Mhm.
tell you, well, nothing is getting paid because there's this issue and that issue, and you don't know enough to be able to kind of question that further and even assist in being able to help guide them in resolving whatever issues they are facing. And so in consulting here and there, at first, I just realized that there were so many more providers that could benefit from being able to outsource their services and would prefer to go that route. And that
Mm.
is how reliable billing came to be.
I love it. So, what
Yeah.
are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing? And I know you've shared some, but what are some of the biggest challenges that healthcare providers face with billing and revenue cycle management today?
Biggest challenges would be a lot of the changes. They are constantly, just new rules, regulations, the number of units changing, clearing houses changing. One example lately, or a couple examples I'll give you, we had the Change Healthcare issue that happened last year that threw providers for a loop where it was probably about 3 to 6 months for a lot of providers just struggling to fully understand how to navigate outside of that and how to quickly pivot and find other clearing houses that they could work with, or even be able to then still be able to obtain the EOBs from the insurances, because a lot of the insurances, what they did is they actually stopped sending out EOBs electronically, and those providers had to request and get those mailed out to the facilities.
Mm.
So that was a process in itself, and figuring out, new clearinghouses, getting all of that reset and getting those EOBs rerouted to those newer clearinghouses, and figuring out how to even get your payment details so you can allocate and fully understand what is still outstanding.
Mm.
That's just one example. And then, just as of last year, for anyone that lives in the state of Minnesota, the state just recently well, not the state per se, but a lot of the MCOs, if you know what that is, it's just prepaid medical assistance policies. They've changed things a little bit to where they were able to approve providers for billing purposes. And it just stopped where they said for any provider that was not yet enrolled with the state of Minnesota, they would not be able to continue billing and get reimbursed by those MCOs. And so just changes like
Wow.
that, I would say those are quite those would be the main challenges once you get going. Anyone that is starting out is going to face, just making sure your platform is set up properly, making sure you have the right payer ID numbers entered on there. So they are always challenges to begin with. Once you figure that out, I would say the biggest thing would be just trying to keep up with anything that is changing or any issues the insurances may be experiencing that are now affecting how you do things, and how you may have to just revisit things a little bit,
Yeah.
and just change how you would typically operate.
So how do you help the healthcare practices improve? This is interesting. How do you help them improve cash flow and reduce claim denials?
We make it our mission to always keep up with anything that is changing, my team and I. So we are signed up for any newsletter you can think of. We attend all workshops we are able to. We research and we keep up with claims as well. So when we submit, if anything comes back rejected, within the same day, we address the issue. So in doing that right then and there, it allows for us to be able to notice right away when there are any issues that could potentially get bigger, and address that at the root before it even grows and causes cash flow issues.
Mm. You talked about outsourcing, and that's the one thing that they would, practitioners would be hiring you and outsourcing. So what are the key differences between in-house billing and outsourcing to a specialized billing service?
I would say when you outsource, typically we take a percentage of what the providers make.
Mm.
And I also, in being a business owner, there's a different level of understanding B2B, what they go through and how important that cash flow coming in is, that not all employees may fully grasp or understand. If you have not worked in these shoes where you fully understand, having to meet deadlines, having to make payroll, having to pay leases, just the responsibility of it all. I do have a deeper level of appreciation and understanding. And so in them coming to me and, asking me to take on their billing is not something that I take lightly. Not to mention that with us taking a percentage of what they bring in, we have a vested interest in making sure they get the most they can at the end of the month, because ultimately we are not not getting anything, we're not getting any payments unless they get paid first. And so you have that extra level of motivation as well as the level of expertise. You know, a lot of my team members have been in the field for 20, 30 years. I have a solid team, and you take on a biller, that's always, as long as they're motivated, it could work out. However, you never know, from one day to the next, they may leave. You just don't have as much consistency there, whereas, on our end, we are here for the long run, and there are enough of us. I have 40 staff members working for me. We have all of our training material, we have all of that documented. And so it's easier for us to onboard anyone that might need to get started and assist in billing. And so I would say that those would be the main things is, the level of motivation is not the same, but also you save so much. You don't have to pay for healthcare. You don't have to pay for office space for those employees. You don't have to pay for just any benefits, you may need to get any employee that is working directly for you. And so it only makes sense. And when you compare what they pay while outsourcing versus what they would pay a typical person working for them, they tend to gain. So it's cost beneficial for sure.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it may cost more than somebody coming in or an employee, but they're making more, right? So they're
Exactly.
bringing in more. So it's only going to
Mm-hmm.
cost more if you're actually generating more
Absolutely.
of the results. So,
Yeah.
which is a win all around,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then
I
you
wouldn't
have,
care if it
yeah.
costs me more than an employee because I know I'm going to be getting more in order to pay that more money out. Like I want to pay more money.
Right, because then that means you made so much more, right? Only makes
Exactly.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, yeah. And then
absolutely.
stability too, ultimately, the word of mouth is how I get a lot of my customers. And I can only imagine other companies operate in the same way. So the last thing you need is to have unhappy customers out there, because word spreads. So it's really in our best interest to make sure we are able to deliver on services. And
Yes.
so yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about trends. What trends are you seeing that are shaping the future of medical billing, and how should the healthcare providers prepare for those trends?
As far as trends, I see a lot of changes to where, a lot of the insurances and even the state agencies are really trying to streamline things. So I would say keep up with things. There are changes happening consistently. And as far as I can see so far, it's all been for the better, where things are better streamlined, and it's making things a lot easier for providers. However, if they are not keeping up with those changes, it could potentially affect their cash flow.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I would say a lot of trends for the better and trying to just, streamline things better and be a little more open when it comes to communication with providers. That is one thing that I'm seeing a little move towards when it comes to the healthcare
Yeah.
world.
Well,
Yeah.
well, AI is affecting every industry, Peg. So I'm sure it's
Yeah,
affecting yours as well. So
absolutely.
how is AI and automation changing the medical billing industry? And are there any risks or limitations that you're seeing?
I tell a lot of my providers AI is the future, but it's also the present.
Mm,
And, I strongly believe that there will come a point where you will be able to see a clear difference between providers or even agencies that are using AI versus the ones that are not. And, you can do so much more when it comes to AI. If you are able to, even with the billing platforms and what we use to get claims sent out, I would say any of the platforms that are ahead of the curve and are able to get, AI portals or tools or companies that are integrated within that platform, it makes a huge difference when it comes to our work and, how we send claims out, how we keep track of things that are being submitted and anything that may come back. But even on the providers' end as well, AI can take your notes for you for providers. And that is the main complaint I hear from providers, is how time consuming having to document services is.
hmm
So for for providers to be able to save all that time by utilizing AI, it's I would say, anyone that can certainly invest in it should. As far as I'm concerned, it's that's it. That's I would say, jump on it while you can. It already makes a huge difference for the ones that use it. But I'm all for AI, even in meetings. Being able to get AI to record your meetings and take notes for you and just send you a summary afterwards and just be able to document, what the next steps should be. That alone is such a game changer.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for AI and all it can bring. I think it will improve things drastically. And it's already doing a lot, but I can't wait to see what it's capable of, in the next year or two, 5, 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be incredible. There's so much has happened in the past 2 years, just the advancements. And
Yeah,
AI has been around for a long time, but
yeah,
not to the level where we're all seeing it and using it as much as we are now. And
absolutely.
I was going to use that word, like the for the physicians and the healthcare practitioners, it could be a game changer for them, especially in the
Hmm.
note-taking space,
Yeah.
because that is time consuming and you can
Oh,
serve
yeah.
more people when you don't have to, when you can take that off your plate.
Absolutely.
And off probably be more efficient and a little
Yeah.
more accurate, possibly as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of wins there. So I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk
Okay.
about growth. Like for your business personally, like you started
Yeah.
this business, you said in 2018.
Yeah.
What were some challenges that you've seen when you got started to where you are now, and how did you overcome them?
Some challenges I would say back when I started, I did have providers come to me wanting to consult. I did also have quite a few providers that were a little hesitant. And there was a little bit of fear, in, giving, because ultimately that is how you stay in business. It's making sure you are able to get money coming in and
Right.
that you are able to get reimbursed for your services. So to have someone that is coming to you that you don't quite know as well, and to be open enough to trust them with, I would say, one of your most precious item when it comes to operating and running a business, that was a little challenging. So it took a lot of just staying consistent and continuing to prove myself and delivering on what I would state or let providers know I can deliver on, and just making sure they were getting paid, and also just going above and beyond to make sure that all most of our providers at least always we're getting the most possible out of them outsourcing to us,
Right.
and that they were able to maximize us as far as the resource goes, and that they were getting a lot more than they would have ever anticipated. So I would say the most challenging thing was getting providers to trust us, me,
Yeah.
and then us. And so that was really challenging, but again, a lot of consistency, and then eventually doors opened up, and word of mouth, providers that we were able to do great work for, we're out there telling others about our services. And it's one thing when you have a stranger tell you about what they could do for you, but when it's a trusted source, a friend or someone you've known for a while that is telling you, well, no, I've used them for their services, or I've been using them for their services, and they do great work, and it saved me so much headache, and I've been able to collect so much more. And yeah, so many doors opened up as time went on, as we were able to build trust and build those relationships with providers.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned a key word, which is consistency,
You
right?
have
You
to
didn't give
be.
up. You
Yeah.
could have given up on the first or second or no, third
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
again, it's just a matter of, how many people are you going to talk to? Eventually, somebody's going to say yes.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to give you a
Absolutely.
shot.
Hmm.
And then once you do that, you're building up those testimonials or those case
Yeah.
studies, and then the referrals come in. So can you share with us what is client acquisition? You brought,
Yeah.
you said in order, you got to keep revenue coming in to keep the doors open. So that
Yeah.
takes bringing in clients. So how are you consistently getting in front of new clients?
I would say, again, word of mouth has been great to us. I
Mhm.
would say as of late too, I've been trying to put myself out there and network a lot more. What I've realized is a lot of the bigger hospitals are Still a little on the fence as far as outsourcing. And what I figured is if I, put myself out there, in front of the right individuals and just to be able to communicate and even, having them give us a couple of months. If you happen to be short-staffed, during that month, or whatever area you may need help with, even if you're not yet willing to fully outsource, to be able to give us a little bit of anything that you may need assistance in, and let us show you what we can do.
Yeah.
So lately, I've said networking is one thing I've been trying to do a lot more of as able. And then also, I would say social media
Mm,
has been great to us too.
that's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
yeah.
So, what is your biggest goal for this year, Peg, for your business?
My biggest goal, continue to stay consistent, continue to just be of help. That's where it always starts, right? Is you show providers what you can do, what you are capable of, and then you would be surprised, how much they open up and how many more referrals they send your way. So I would say the goal is to just continue to stay consistent, continue to grow, continue networking, and growing my team, making sure we stay solid and just expand from there. I would love, as far as I'm concerned, the sky is the limit. I do believe I have cracked the code a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as my team goes, I'm now at a point where I have a solid enough team and enough individuals that are well experienced enough to where even if we were to hire new individuals, we can quickly train them.
Mhm.
And I tend to get a lot of my team leads to refer others that they may know, and so that's helped with the learning curve too, because they tend to know others that they've worked with in the past or that have similar experiences, and so in not having to spend as much time or have as long of a learning curve for our newer staff members, that is something that I count on quite a bit as I'm expanding and taking on new customers. But yeah, just continuing to just show what we can do and be great to the community, to providers, and ultimately be a great resource and help for providers out there. It's important to me that they get paid for the work they do. I
Mhm.
know how hard they all work. I know what it takes to do this. I mean, running a business first and foremost, is not the easiest thing.
Right.
But having to fight so hard to get your claims paid, especially when every single detail that you may miss could cause delays and ultimately denials. And so if I can stand in the way of that and make things a little easier for them, that's the ultimate goal. And everything else, I am confident will come afterwards, as long as you do the right thing and you are able to get results for businesses out there.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
So, with your goals, if you had, if I could hand you a magic wand, Peg, and you can wave it over one issue or one challenge that might be holding you back to getting there, what would
Mhm.
that be and why?
I would say getting my foot in the doors when it comes to the bigger hospitals, as well as I'm looking into government contracting. So
Mhm.
those would be two things. But as far as, anything, if I were to think of anything that could make a huge difference in medical billing, I would say streamlining things better and not so much counting on just humans. And that's where AI comes into play. I think there's a lot of human error happening. There's a lot of frustration when you're dealing with someone that, may be overwhelmed and, has been on the phone all day and, you are the 100th phone call of that day. And they are not as willing to really dig in deeper and get to the details you need. And so I would say technology, if we could get a lot more of that involved in the medical billing field, I would say that's one thing
Yeah.
that could
Yeah.
make a difference for sure.
So, if we could revisit this conversation in a year, if we could have you back,
Yeah.
what would success look like for you this year, Peg?
Success, if you were to see me in a year, I would love to be able to tell you about my first major hospital that I
Yeah.
would have signed a contract with, and talk about a couple government contracts that I've been able to, bid on successfully and obtain. But ultimately, that's where I see our path going is, continuing to help providers, but also breaking into doors that so far have stayed shut
Hmm.
for a lot of us in the medical billing field.
Perfect. Well, I
So,
can't wait to hear all about it in a year.
okay, all right, let's
Yeah.
put it out there.
Yeah, we're putting it out there.
Yeah.
So how can people that are listening connect with you, Peg, and reach out to you?
Absolutely. So they can check us out on our website. It's reliablebilling.org. And they can also email us inquiries at reliablebilling.org. And we certainly would be happy to assist. What I tell everyone is you don't have to be a client for us to be willing to assist you. If you have a question, something you're struggling with, and if I happen to have the answer or have seen a similar issue or case before, I'm happy to share my knowledge, and ultimately we can work as a team and break down barriers and make it to where things are a little more streamlined and providers don't have to be as stressed out just trying to get paid for work that they do.
Perfect. So reliablebilling.org, and you
Yep.
can connect with Peg there too, and on social media. They're on social media. All of her links will be in the show notes, so you can go connect with her there. Let her know that you heard her here. And Peg, is there anything that I might not have asked you or touched on that you want to say before we wrap up or share?
Oh, is there anything? I can't think of anything.
Think we did good? Okay,
I
we
think we
did
did
good.
great. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We did good. We did good. So for you, those of you listening, if you're watching us on YouTube and you see Peg and I here, please hit the subscribe button. That allows us to reach out to more people. Also notifies you when we have more amazing guests like Peg on here, so you can get the value from our experts. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasts like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and you can leave a 5-star review, please do so. That also helps us share Peg with more people, to a larger audience. And don't forget to connect with Peg and let her know you heard her here. You can also leave her a note in any of the platforms. And thank you for listening. If you are looking to grow your visibility and you're feeling like you're doing all the things, you're on social media, you're reaching out to people, and you're just not getting the traction you want to get in front of the people as much as your people as much as you want to, then go ahead and download our free Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's free, it's yours. Go ahead and grab it. Um, and also don't forget to go to reliablebilling.org to learn more about Peg and her company. Thank you, Peg, for being here. It's been such
Of
a joy.
course. Absolutely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. You're welcome. Thank you for listening to Peg and I today, and we will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlights.